Okay. Good to go? Uh, hey everybody, thank you for joining. Uh, I get the chance to introduce myself, so that's nice. That's a first. My name's Or. I'm going to talk about customer support for startups. Um, and I'll just leave the introduction to the talk itself. But I kind of wanted to start with saying thank you to Dan. I hope this is a good illustration of Dan. I worked very hard on it. Basically, Dan and the entire ComCon team, because this is by far the best conference I've attended, and I'll definitely be coming back next year. This is the last talk for the Dome, and once I'm done, which is supposed to be 5 minutes before 3 o'clock, just in case you see me, getting all too excited, keep talking about, for some reason, customer support, right? Then let me know, we'll head back to the waterhouse. A bit about myself, I've been working in in the software industry since, I don't know, I was 11 pretty much. So I had my first gig to build a website when I was very young. But I think the more relevant experience I had was working for Cloudonics on VoIP SDK back in 2014. And this is how I basically got into this community and why I keep coming back and speaking about things that yeah, Eric says he's sorry. But since then, I moved to Fodder. Fodder is a company that provides e-commerce fraud prevention. I'm not going to touch on the business itself, but it's basically a company that provides B2B software as a service, much like any other software company. And I worked there on their mobile SDK, and then I got a chance to move to a different area, which is a team we call growth engineering. We're responsible on the APIs, the SDKs, making sure that customers turn from prospect into paying customers, basically. And somewhere in between, I took a few months off, and I went helping a group of friends of mine that were working on a consumer's product, to which they're still in kind of a stealth mode, so I'll refer them as Netflix from now on, okay? Because this is a monthly active subscription kind of product. So the use case is very, very similar. But all in all, my role has been customer-facing, since I remember myself, and for sure since 2011. A bit about Fodder. I mentioned it's a SaaS company, but just to give this kind of picture on the size of businesses we're working with, you can see Priceline, TGI Fridays, Delivery.com, all sorts of companies. Some of them are very large enterprises with slow process, right? Like they have more patience than the others, and some are technology companies just like the people here in this room, and they want to get answers on the spot, right? So there's always this tension. How can you provide the same level of customer support, customer experience to all of them at the same time? One important thing to mention about Fodder, and this is something I'm very proud of by the way that we work, is that the developer is responsible for the product end to end. So let's say I created a mobile SDK for Fodder. I'll be designing it, making sure everybody signs off on the design, and then all the road from writing the code, writing the tests, deploying it, making sure it goes live, it's not crashing in production, we have proper monitoring, and of course when customers reach out and ask questions, I'll be the one handling this until it gets big enough to a point where it's time to have a team who's going to support this service. But the shift, and when do you move a specific product from just being a single man's responsibility to being a group's responsibility, that's a different subject. And today I'll be talking about the support for the entire product and not necessarily a specific area. We'll talk about that just 2 minutes, we'll touch it. So to cover the agenda, and I want to start with what's the motivation behind having really good customer support, and I'm kind of happy to be to host the third session about it in this conference, because we just had Eric's excellent contextual session, which is it touched a lot of the things that I'm gonna talk about today. And yesterday we had the panel on how do we treat our customers. So a lot of the things, when developers are the ones doing the tech support, these are relevant because we all come from relatively small industry, right? And some of us work in bigger companies, but there are people here in this crowd that they're either the single employee or they work with 2-3 other colleagues. And I was lucky enough to have the chance both to work at Forder, which is almost 200 people organization, but also take this short break to work on a B2C company with 6 of my best friends, where we were doing all the support for all the consumers we were working with, which is kind of crazy. So we'll also talk about the differences between B2B and B2C in terms, again, of customer support, the type of user experience, and what users expect from you when you provide them a specific way to contact you. And then we'll touch on choosing the right tool, why should we automate everything on that area, and then I'll share with you some, again, this is me telling my own personal story, the things I got a chance to work about. And I have to say in advance, I don't have any kind of affiliation with the companies I'm gonna mention, because I'm gonna talk about specific products, okay? Of course, this is an unsolicited advice. Nobody paid me to mention those companies. This is, only from experience. So let's start with motivation, which is, the first part. This is a quote, and by the way, this is the first time I'm giving a not very technical talk. It's again, and it's funny that it comes right after Eric's session, which was also inspirational. But I really hope you'll leave this session with, actual kind of checklist on how to approach customer support if you ever get to, face it and need to create this kind of operation from scratch. This is a quote that I really like from Jeff Bezos, that he says, "We see our customers as invited guests to a party, and we are the hosts. It's our job every day to make every important aspect of the customer experience a little bit better." And this is something I really believe. And I just have to say, because this is something that was mentioned on the panel yesterday, not every developer has the skills it takes to talk to customers. Not everybody can take, I don't know, a complicated technical subject and communicate it back to a consumer, for example, right? Like, it's hard to tell a Netflix user that, hey, listen, you are using some kind of proxy, you have to turn it off. You can get either two answers, either okay, gotcha, or what's a proxy, right? So it's a very challenging thing. But the idea is, and this is what I truly believe. People might think that customer support is a necessary evil, right? But I think that most companies really do want to have more people use their product and also give them a really good customer experience, okay, and user experience possible. A lot of the other things that I got the chance to see is that a lot of companies aspire to reduce manual work around the support areas, right? Because as soon as you have customers, you have operation and you have overhead and things that you have to do. You have to issue invoices. You have to make sure that the accounts are running. And if someone wasn't using your service long enough, then maybe it's the right thing to contact them to make sure they're not gonna either started using a different service or are going to. So minimal churn, right? Churn is the opposite of retention. Maximal retention is minimal churn. And for B2C, right, business to consumer, business to customer businesses, the idea is also to reduce financial loss, which I'm going to talk about specifically here. But just to give you kind of the picture of the things that I was happy I was able to achieve. This is, and I said I'm going to refer to the B2C company as Netflix, right? This is an actual quote from one of the Play stores, where a consumer said, most recently I wanted to add Netflix to my laptop. Paul, that's my support name, by the way. With support, helped me every step of the way. I myself am a Netflix user for life and will have it on every desktop or laptop I'll ever own. So, this is on the consumer's case, someone who, started with a request to cancel her account completely, right? I don't want to pay this anymore, you've been ripping me off, yada, 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 and then turned into the happiest customer on earth, keep leaving us, good reviews on the Play Store, on our Facebook page, etc. It's also relevant on the B2B world because a happy customer can become your best salesperson, okay? These are case studies from Forder's website, and I got a chance to work with the customers. Some of them were already customers when I joined Forder, but some of them I had the chance to be involved with the sales cycle, right? Making sure that they get all their technical requirements answered and met. And even on the B2B, and especially in such a small community as ours, people talk to each other, right? So it's always best to make sure all of your customers are happy with, not just your product, but also the level of support you're providing, because they'll be going and, making really good PR for you. So let's touch on B2B versus B2C, okay? This is a slide that talks about marketing for B2B versus B2C, okay? I think it's 100% applicable to customer support. And customer support and customer success are two. It's basically, customer success is the entire concept, and customer support is one way to make sure that your customers are happy, and therefore promote your customer success, right? The thing is that with when it comes to B2B, you have a company on the other side, right? It's not just a single, it's not an individual that is making the decision. It is at some point, you have the decision maker at the company, but once a company enter the contract with a different company, things are not as fluctuate as, let's compare Netflix, where the user don't like your service, they can switch over to Hulu, right? It's a matter of seconds. I go to my account, I cancel it, create a new account, 3 minutes, I have, most of the same content, right? So it's up to the user. And what's going on with marketing, and I think it's, again, also applicable to customer support, is that when it comes to the consumers, you have to be simple, right? Simple messages, simple words. Make sure that everything is intuitive because, well, a company will, when you work with the different business, they'll respect your escalation policy, right? If you tell them, okay, whatever you want, send an email to support at, I don't know, then they'll just follow it because, they're used to it. They'll send an email, and then they'll receive oh, we got your request, we'll be back, no problem. But, with customers, they, especially, with the way that things and apps work today, they want to have immediate resolution. They want to get their answers right now. They want to get what they want right now. So also with support, we should focus on making things simple and straightforward and, talk about the benefits and not necessarily, and this is, I'll get to a very relevant slide to explain the difference. But, let's take Google Cloud as an example for B2B, okay? Google Cloud has longer sales cycles. Any B2B basically has a longer sales cycle. Why? Because, there's no way, sometimes there's a way to just go open an account. It's relevant for Google Cloud, but, if you're a very serious account, they'll send account manager to you, give you a bunch of free credits, make sure they onboard you, provide you access to their solution architects, so the transition would be very smooth. And, when I'm as a customer considering, using this kind of service provider, I'm asking myself a few questions. One of them is, okay, do I get access to your developers? What happens if, I don't know, your load balancer is not handling the load that I have to send, and it takes it time to respond, and like I don't want to have any kind of downtime. So you have that kind of checklist, and once you did all of that, and you agreed on an SLA, that's it. It's done. There's no, it's not a constant battle over your customers' happiness and satisfaction, because okay, we're connected. We have a contract. If you don't like something, let me know. I'll talk to my product team. Yada yada yada. And this is how the support feels, right? Turn it off, turn it on again. Oh, okay, you have a problem with your load balancer. and this is, I'm sorry, not about Google specifically, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not using Google currently to anything other than like, my private servers. And I didn't use the support. But what happens with enterprises is that you usually get this kind of support because, okay, you're already connected to us. We have a contract. No problem. We'll handle your request just like we're handling one of the other 5,000 requests we currently have open. And when it comes to B2C, this is a different thing because, as I mentioned, you can join, subscribe, unsubscribe on the spot. You can do it immediately. In general, because we always want to make sure we keep you as a customer, we'll do our best, to make sure you're happy. That's why Audible, for example, if you're familiar with the service, it's a service that allows you to buy audiobooks online. It's an Amazon company, and their service is a subscription. You pay $10 a month, you get 1 credit, so you can buy any book you want with it. And this is good. And you have people, I have this subscription for almost 3 years now, and I have like 9 unused credits. They still send me an email telling me, hey, just this month, we want to make you happy, get 2 credits instead of 1 on us, right? So like, it's a constant battle to make sure that the customer is happy and won't, even think on looking at something different or cooler, you name it. And the customers today, they can, it's when you work with a consumer, they can cancel at any point, just move to the best competition that you already have, and sometimes they won't even pay the last bill because they're like, no, why? I didn't watch anything in the last month. Netflix use case. I didn't watch anything on your service in the last month. Why do I need to pay for the last month? So you have, consumers can be fair and can be very, very unfair. And I did mention here that unhappy customers, and this is something we saw on Netflix, when they didn't get the response they wanted to hear, they just went over to the Play Store, left negative reviews, then moved over to our Facebook page, left, 1-star review. You can't trust this company, it's a total scam, it's etc., etc. And that's because, you provide the same level of support experience even, especially when you're a small group of people, right? So we were 6 developers working just on this product, and we had to distribute the support requests load between us. So that is part of the automated response we had. To kind of summarize it, I think the most important thing to mention is that, on the B2B case, you're committed to a specific SLA, right? So even if you don't have the right system in place and you're not doing what you think is, the right way, but it's still working, you can still achieve, you'll meet your SLA because you're bounded by contract, right? So when I have one of the big companies reach out to me, it doesn't matter if I have, the whole process on how do I handle customer requests. I just, get their email, look at it, okay, I have to handle it now, dropping everything I'm doing, focusing on getting the request answered, going back to my stuff. This approach is not working with consumers. And again, one of the reasons is that they're used to that immediate resolution. But the other thing is that, let's say that you have a very successful Netflix service and you have 30,000 active users on your platform, okay? Those users are generating 1,000 ticket requests per month. That's about 30 to 40 tickets a day. And that's a really big amount of, overhead for a developer. Like as a developer, I did everything I can to optimize my process. It would still take me an hour and a half or 2 hours to just answer all the tickets. And then the total resolution time of them would be very, very long. It would be a week or 2 weeks because, you reply someone until they get back to you with, more details, etc. The flow is very, very frustrating. And that's why I want to touch on the user experience, okay? And this is what your users are experiencing when they ask you to support them. And this is what we started from back at Netflix, okay? We used Intercom. I think you'll identify them. This is Intercom. I'm using Intercom on Intercom's website to try and reach out to them. So this is a short video of me, clicking on their widget on the top right bottom, trying to start a conversation, and then basically writing them, hey, I can't sign into my account, right? This is a chat. This is what I expect. I expect them to answer me right away, and what I'm getting back is a straight answer, but it's from an answer bot. Okay, so he's saying, yeah, what can I help you? I'm telling him I can't log into my account. Then he's asking me for an email. Okay, that's not a chat, right? That's just you trying to create a nice experience for me to give you my email. Yeah, I've had enough. I don't know. I can't access my account. I just won't use your service. So, next. And I think we can, bucketize those types of experiences into online versus offline, okay? Online is, what you just saw. Intercom, it's any kind of chat, any kind of phone call, any kind of, you can use Facebook Messenger, which is something that is very popular in some countries. And when you are using this kind of online solution, the user is expecting immediate response. He expects, okay, I write a question, I want to get an answer right away. And it's very hard to defer that request coming from the user into an offline channel. Because, you started a chat, then you get that, oh, leave us your email address. The user is now all bummed out because they're not getting that immediate resolution they were hoping for. In general, online channels are better for demand-based apps. So, if you're using Uber, if you're using any kind of delivery app, delivery.com, Uber Eats, whatever, and something's wrong with the delivery you just got, then you want to be able to talk to someone right now, right? Because you're either about to eat it or, I don't know, order a different delivery to your office. So it's working better with demand-based apps. It's not working very well for, any kind of enterprise grade or small teams, actually, because, as 6 people, we can't, and, we were located in Israel. The majority of our consumers were located in the US. There's no way that on this hour in the US, I'll have enough people online to answer the intercom chat. So, yeah. On the other hand, you will expect offline channels to be provided to you if you were working with an enterprise. So, Google Cloud, I'd expect to have support at GCP, whatever, and be able to contact them that way. And I might even choose to do it because, when something's not working, I want to let my colleagues know. So I'll send an email, tag them as well. This is where we're getting, we're now going to start diving on how to approach this, okay? Ideally, what we would want is to have the same level of service on all channels, okay? Both on chat, both on Twitter, Facebook, emails, SMS for some reason, okay? There are companies that provide service through an SMS. And we're gonna have all of that communication with the customer centralized in a single system where we can, see past interactions and we can, use, like, if someone is contacting me because of network issues for the 5th time, it's gonna make sense that I won't answer with the same generic response. Oh, please try running a speed test, yada yada. I'm probably just want to tell them, listen, this is the 5th time. There's probably something wrong with your carrier. I would suggest contacting them instead, going over this process over and over again. The thing is that if you won't have all of those communications centralized into a single system, okay, all those customer interactions, you're going to get, first of all, a different customer experience because, on Facebook, someone might be, someone might have the Facebook for Business console open on his computer and just reply to customers. But when they send an email, nobody's looking at the Zendesk, or the opposite, right? We're looking only at Zendesk and we're not looking at the messenger. So you want to have everything in the single place, and then when you have it, then you can also create the same metrics and, the same visibility dashboards for all of those channels, which is one of the most important things, and we'll talk about why in a second, okay? And also this is another important point to touch, the whole multi-channel, we want to support all channels possible because in Israel, for example, if you have a food delivery service, users are going to contact you through Facebook Messenger. They're used to it, they have the app installed, like, We make reservations to restaurants from Facebook Messenger. We're not calling the restaurant anyway. So, this is from time to time also a market opener because you provide people with the support they are used to from other players in the same market. Let's talk briefly about choosing the right tool. Okay, the way to choose the right tool, and I'm talking about customer support tool. Okay, this single place where we'll have everything organized and tagged properly, and we'll create dashboards on top of it. Okay, this is your main support tool. And in order to choose one, what you need to do is you need to ask yourself a few questions. First is, what channels are we going to support, which we already touched. But the other things are, what are the most common support cases that I have to handle? And later on, we're going to touch on how can we automate and also why, okay? And what are KPIs, KPI, key performance index, right? These are the things we want to measure. For example, for me as someone, providing support to consumers on a product, an online product, I want to be able to resolve 90% of the tickets in the first 24 hours. I don't want anyone, waiting over the weekend for some reason. I just want to have as close to immediate resolve as I can. So when you ask yourself those questions, you gathered the answers, now you know what you want to build, right? This is the planning phase. And then what I'm doing is, this is the thought process that I had when I joined my friends on the consumers product. We thought about what was the support experience that we wanted to create. Okay, we had Intercom, and what we saw with Intercom was those users who were expecting an immediate resolve and didn't get it turned to be very, very angry users. And then we kind of had this thinking process, and we said, okay, what could happen if we would switch from Intercom into a regular ticket submission form? And we decided to test it, so we ran an A/B test and saw that nobody's dropping, stop buying our product just because we don't have that Intercom badge. And out of those 5-10% of users that are getting to the support page on our website, no one seems to care, right? Because these are new requests. We didn't have anyone saying, hey, you used to have Intercom, what happened now? And we really tried measuring it, and we also migrated all the conversations from Intercom to Zendesk, so we were able to see requests from people who returned and used the new system. But the thing is, you really want to make sure that you can integrate that support system into everything you're using. So that would be your analytics, your logging systems. Okay, let's take a case of you selling SIP trunk services. Okay, it makes very sense. You can have both types of customers, right? You can have both consumers and companies, and they'd contact you and say, hey, I can't get a call through. What can I do, right? And this is what you get. This is what you have to work with, right? You get this kind of message. If you don't have logs, if you can't, immediately access the account, and you have to start looking up by email, etc., then you just create yourself a really big overhead because every single ticket you're handling requires a lot of manual work. So you want to have a tool that allows you to have everything in just the ticket view, so you can see the message the person sent and all the relevant things, right? Links to the SIP stacks that came from that specific account. You want to link that ticket to the account you have on your system. You also want to see if they even have credits in your system, right? Just on the ticket, right there. So you can add a field on the ticket that says this guy has $5 available on the account. And once you have that system in place and you start supporting, make sure you measure. Make sure you look at how many times the same people creating new tickets, how many times does it take you longer than your desired time to resolve, and measure what are the biggest topics that people contact you about. Okay, with our Netflix solution, the 4 most common requests were, I want to cancel, I want to get a refund, I want to switch to a cheaper plan, and I can't get into my account. That's it. Okay, that's 95% of the overhead. Only 5% are things where you actually need to take a look at it. Okay, And if you'll make sure you have everything in a single place, it will make your life easier. Because if you choose the wrong ticket, the wrong system, then this is what you're gonna get. You know, on one hand, it's gold. On the other side, it's really, really painful. And you know, once you've started, you made sure everything is integrated to a single place. You invested the development work it requires. You really don't want to, you know, get stuck with a system that can't meet your needs. So, I'm gonna start running, okay? But this is basically your checklist, okay? In order to do it right. And again, I'm talking from my experience. I did this process both with Forder and both with Netflix. And, you know, I think this is kind of the winning formula. You want to have a single CRM system, okay? You want to have either Zendesk, Freshdesk, one of the competitors. You know, if you're using Salesforce, they have this kind of support CRM system. Or if you're using Jira, then you can use they have a name for it, I think, support desk, something like that, okay? Another thing you want to have is you want to have for each account that, you know, account user depends on, you know, how it's defined in your system. You want to make sure that for each account you have a really easy way to access all the relevant logs. So you have like your own internal dashboard. It could be, you know, ELK, Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana, right? A Kibana dashboard where you can see all the activity from that specific account. Or, I don't know, quick link to SSH to a machine to see the logs on the machine, okay? And once you have access to these two, this is like, you know, only relevant if you have a website or a dashboard or a mobile app, okay, that users are interacting with. You're gonna want to have some kind of users behavior analytics. So something like Full Story or Hotjar, LogRocket. I'm gonna show you how it looks as a whole solution in 2 minutes, pretty much. And the last thing would be a really good dashboard or, I don't know, some kind of internal app to make the most popular actions, okay? So, you know, if someone is contacting you constantly, I can't register to my SIP trunk, right? You're gonna want to have one button to reset the credentials, okay? And then, you know, you just click it, tell the guy, okay, we've reset the credentials, go, you know, knock yourself out. After you have all of that in the single place and, you know, you created this dashboard where you can perform all the internal actions that an agent would make, then it becomes really, really easy to take it away from developers and just move it away to any kind of, you know, either outsourced support service or just hire someone who only handle tickets, but they have all the tools in the world to address the most common requests. And on top of all of that, you want to have monitoring and alerts, okay? Monitoring would be dashboards on, you know, specific things. How long is it taking to resolve tickets? What are the the main subjects that keep coming back? And, you know, if at some point you see that those main subjects drop down and, you know, you have this other section that keeps growing, then you need to have another look on what are your real problems now. Regarding automation, okay, I'm gonna touch it really quickly, but what you wanna do is you wanna make sure that you have all the relevant information on the ticket itself, okay, and this is something Eric touched on his talk. When someone is creating a ticket, a new request, make sure that on your backend you collect all the relevant logs, all the links to, you know, your internal dashboards, etc. Put them on the ticket, because then the second the agent opens the ticket and want to handle it, they have all the information in one place, okay? And when you do that enough, I believe you probably want to automate the most common support flows, okay? So in our case, we used to get a lot, what we offered at Netflix was, you know, a freemium. You get 30 days trial or 7 days trial, and then after the trial, you start paying for a subscription. So, you know, we would have a lot of people contacting us on the 8th day of the trial and saying, oh, no, I didn't mean this to go through. I thought that, you know, you're contacting me before you start billing me, and I thought it's automatically canceled, etc., etc. And those users, they never had complaints about the product. They liked the product, but they didn't want to pay automatically, I don't know, an annual subscription or a monthly subscription. So what we did, and because we saw this is, you know, it keeps coming back. It was, I think, 25% of our of the requests we were getting, then we created an automation around it, and we allowed the users from their dashboard, when they hit cancel, we told them, oh, you know what? You want to extend your membership for free? And that completely changed the retention numbers in our system. So what we did at Netflix was to Netflix, right? I never worked at Netflix. Okay, this is me paraphrasing basically. We moved away from Intercom, and before we did that, we mapped out the 4 key areas that I mentioned. Billing inquiries, what's this charge, refund and cancel, tell me more about a product, I can't access my account, that kind of thing. And we had really, really slow response time when we used Intercom, so we needed something faster. So we made sure we create all the automation possible around those flows to the level that an agent, would use a single macro, it will do everything. It will refund, it will write the user, thank you, we refunded your request, etc., etc. And when we started answering faster, we reduced that 10% of cancellation and chargebacks to a very surprising number that you'll see in a second. But in terms of stack, we used Zendesk full story for user analytics, and we had this in-house dashboard, and we streamed all of that information, all the ticketing information, to Google's BigQuery, where we were able to create really awesome dashboards around it. But the end result was that we were able to take that 10% of cancellations and chargebacks, okay, and the chargebacks were about 5% before, and we lowered them to 1% chargeback rate. Why? Because the users contacted us and got immediate response that says, no problem, you want a refund, you'll get a refund. Just tell us what you want to do. Maybe you want to move to a cheaper plan. And a lot of the users chose to do that instead of canceling or filing a chargeback. And out of those, the flow that you've seen, extend my trial free, we were able to salvage 65% of those users that were used to just cancel or file a chargeback, but now they are open to new opportunities because you're answering them really fast. So I'm almost out of time. I'm gonna show you what it really looks like, okay? And this is a sample. Yeah. This is just an example ticket, okay? And I wanna show you pretty much what it looks like when you have all the information on the ticket. Okay, in this case, it's not all the information, but it's an example on what you can do with Zendesk and Full Story when they're integrated. And I created a ticket that basically says, this is me pretending to be a user. Oh, Netflix is not working. I'm accessing it, and what I get is the user telling, hey, I'm trying to watch my show, but it won't let me start playing. Please help. Right? This is the kind of request you'll get from your customers, and I can't do anything with that. But I did have, by chance, Full Story running on that user's dashboard when he was browsing. So, they have a really nice integration where I can go to the side, click on it, and now I can see exactly what the user saw on their dashboard, right? So this is me not touching. That's what the user was doing, and I can see that the user tried to watch Friends in this case and was getting the whole. Yeah, you're using proxy or VPN. So, now I know what the user was doing, I can answer. And because this is a very common use case with Netflix, then I already have a macro, and this macro, I'm just running it here, writing proxy, entering, it already changes the ticket to be solved, and it's writing the user, hey, I'm sorry about your bad experience, this is the link to read why you can't use proxies, but, stop using the proxy, that's it, and I'm with another click, just saving it, and that's it, this ticket is solved. So, it used to be minutes going, looking up, making the actions, and now it's 2 clicks on the keyboard. I am really out of time, but I am gonna share the presentation and the slides with you in case you wanna have, this kind of checklist to work with. I was very, very close. This is basically the last slide. And this is what you need to know. This is, customer support in a nutshell. Map the pain points, define what's your desired support experience, and make sure you're choosing the right tools. And I really love the last sentence, which is, measure, automate, repeat, because that's how you make sure you only focus on the important requests, okay? So thank you. I'd love to take any questions you might have offline, but sorry for keeping you waiting. And this was the last talk at the Dome. We are going to move to the Waterhouse, but we have about, sorry for eating on your break. We have 8 minutes until the next session in the Waterhouse. Maybe a bit more, but thank you.